Okay, so we've just made our first chatbot. So this is the tutorial demo that I've just created. If we click this button here, it will take us to the actual chatbot workspace. Now, like I showed in the overview, the chatbot workspace is a place for you to trial it out, test it, and see if there's any edits that you need to make, any information that the chatbot's missing, those sorts of things. So the first thing we need to do is actually start a chat thread. So I'm just going to go for test to get started. You can see down here, it's going to give us a list of all of our previous chats. Now, chats are only really useful if you're using it as a research tool for studying, for example. You can create multiple chat threads, and you can come back to ChatIQ and you can continue from where you left off. So we'll remember the last 10 to 20 messages within that chat thread, which is quite useful. Now, obviously, make sure that you're not just creating hundreds of these. If you're creating hundreds of threads, you're probably just going to clog up your account and then use up all of your limits, so don't do that. If you're just using it to test your chatbot's responses and check the source data, especially if you're creating a customer-facing chatbot, then one chat thread is fine. Now here on the left column, we have a list of all of the data that the chatbot is using for its responses. Now you can add or remove data from your chatbots very quickly and easily by doing this. You can basically just click this button here and remove the data from the chatbot. Alternatively, if you find that you're missing information, you can click add knowledge, and then you can just click one of these, and then instantly that knowledge is now added to the chatbot. Every once in a while, you will find that it takes a while for this to update for the chatbot to get this information added to it. If that has happened to you and you're not getting it showing in your source info, the easiest thing for you to do is rebuild the chatbot. Now it will eventually show up, it just depends on how large that PDF is. I just wanted to address that straight away. So you can see obviously the list of the PDFs that you're using, which is obviously very useful. In here is the source info, which we'll go through in a second, and then here is our chatbot workspace. This is where we can actually talk to it. So these chatbots are, I think they're trained on biomed information. So for example, how we're using AI in biomed. Ask it a question. You can see here it's already been populated with the introduction message that we gave it, and also the colors that we gave it. So when we embed this into our website, it will have exactly the same template. It will look exactly the same as this, but it won't have the message usage at the bottom. When it comes back with its response, you can see here in the source text area, we have a list of all of the PDFs that it's using to reference its responses. So here, for example, it's actually only really using 2 PDFs because most of the information is already contained within these. So it's not necessarily always going to read every single PDF. It's only going to look for the particularly useful information for your response. So the more questions that you ask it, the more you'll see that these switch around. Now, because I don't actually know the contents of these PDFs, I don't know how to force it to use one of these other PDFs, but you'll have a better idea when you're using it yourself. So this is obviously a very useful way to see and make sure that the chatbot's actually using the correct data that you've given it. One thing I really want to highlight here, do not ask the chatbot if it knows what's contained within this PDF, right? Or please don't ask it to summarize the PDF because it can't actually do that. It's not built to summarize things. So for example, if I said, read me this, read me that, the likelihood is it's not going to know the name of that PDF unless this PDF file name is actually saved within the text, all over the text. So you can see here, it doesn't actually have the capability or read access these files or documents because it doesn't know that's the name of the file. It's only using contextual analysis, so it knows contextually what's within those documents. It can read the documents, but it doesn't know the name of the documents directly yet. I can always add that as an update if that's a feature that you guys would like, but for now, it won't be able to do that. Same thing goes if I say, summarize this PDF, for example. The way the software is built is it actually can't summarize the entire PDF, and it will basically just make up some stuff. Now, if you are using your chatbot for a specific use case and you don't want it to do hallucinations like, well, not hallucinations, but say things like as a text-based AI, or I apologize for the inconvenience, as an AI language model, you can change your custom prompt. The chatbot that you build using a ChatIQ prompt is very broad and open. We aren't spending a huge amount of time adjusting the prompt for your specific use case, because obviously every single use case for every single user is very different. So you want to make sure that if you're not getting the responses that you want, or there's certain phrases you don't want to include, you update your prompt. Now, I've mentioned this several times in all of the other videos because it's incredibly important to get the best results out of ChatIQ. And go ahead and watch the entire module on prompting, because that will give you a little bit more information on how to do this effectively. So that gives you an overview on how you would actually use this interface. Now, in the next video, we'll actually dive into a little bit more detail. But for example, once I've got these responses here, you can always copy and paste them and use them for whatever it is you want. Find halfway through using my chatbot that actually it's not using the correct data. Like I said, you can add more knowledge to it. At the moment, with the knowledge base, you can still search. So if I do Roman, I can search for the Roman law in European history PDF, and I can add that to my list of sources. But sometimes if you're trying to add a lot of data very quickly, the easiest thing for you to do is to literally just go back into your data feed and rebuild the chatbot, just because you can search by filter. Now, again, currently you can't filter within this section. I'm going to try and add that in at some point, but right now that's sort of how everything is set up. Like I say, if you want to be able to change any settings within your chatbot that's not currently within this area, if you click on the chatbot settings section, it will take you to the area where you can. For example, here we can now swap out the prompt, we can change the colors and the intro message. Let's just go back over to chatbots. Cool. The next video will be about customizations with the chatbot, but for now I think that pretty much covers everything you'll need to know. If you have any other questions, you can always ask the interface.